Welcome to the Bros Talking Soccer podcast, a podcast where three brothers generally talk about what's happening in American and European soccer. It is day 27 of the 2019 World Cup, and that is what we are talking about. It is Wednesday, July 3rd. My name is Dave Knittel, the oldest Knittel brother. Christian and Matt, my other two brothers, are working, so we are joined by our friend Matt Lefler to talk about everything that happened today. Matt, hello, how are you doing today?
I am freaking fantastic, Dave, but I'm a little bit less fantastic than I was yesterday.
Yeah.
So, on a scale of fantasticism, yesterday I was a 10 out of 10. Today I'd say I'm about a 6.5 to 7.
All right, that's fair enough. I think that the match that we just watched, as I think we both were expecting, was a little bit more tiring to watch. It didn't really get the blood flowing the way the England USA match did. What do you got there?
No, I'm just messing around.
Okay, all right. So the match ultimately 0-0 in regulation. Then it went to extra time, and Netherlands prevailed 1-0 after extra time. There were some good saves. There was a lot of just not the most attractive soccer being played, and we'll talk about all of that. But before we do, wanted to give a couple quick plugs for our partners. We're a part of the Stadium Scene Network. Go to stadiumscene.tv for all kinds of sports content. We have content on there about soccer, basketball, baseball, any of the sports you could possibly think of. They have content on there, a lot of podcasts, but also blogs, YouTube videos, and all of that. Our stuff's on there and tons of soccer content. So check it all out on stadiumscene.tv. We're also part of the Big Heads Media Network. Go to bigheadsmedia.com for all kinds of podcasting content. They have over 50 different podcasts. They're constantly adding new podcasts. They have a ton of NFL ones that they've been adding: crime, history, sports. Everything you think of is available on Big Heads Media, so go check that out. Before we get into the specific matches, we had a question from Jeff. Jeff, thank you so much for always sending in the questions. So this one, Matt, is about if you had the opportunity to travel back in time and change one thing in history, would you do it, and what would it be?
Yes. I would have abolished slavery in all forms.
Yeah. That's obviously one that I think we all kind of think of. For me, I just am so concerned about the butterfly effect. I subscribe to that feeling, and I worry about changing anything from the past. Would I even be here anymore? What would, what would happen and all of that? And so I probably wouldn't go back and change anything, but that is obviously a clear one. Go back, stop Hitler is obviously another clear one that a lot of people cite. And so those are noble. I think I would just be too nervous that I would ruin the world or human existence by going back in history and trying to change something. So that's kind of where I fall down. So I would decline the opportunity to go back in time. Any other thoughts, Matt?
Nope.
Let's get into the match today. Netherlands, Sweden, and Netherlands prevailed 1-0, as I already said. Matt, before we get into it, we saw Berenstain coming in for Van de Sanden in the lineup for the Netherlands before the match kicked off. What were your thoughts on that?
I was curious because she came on and was such a lightning bolt late in games that I wondered how that was going to transfer to her being a starter. And I actually think that she had less of an effect on the early stages of this game than Van de Sanden had on the early stages of previous games. That's what I thought.
I think it's comparable for me.
Yeah, really, because the reason why I say that is because just Van de Sanden she's faster. She is, and she gets herself into better positions or more dangerous positions. I mean, this is from what I could see, right? But I think Berenstain is definitely two-footed. She can use both of her feet, whereas Van de Sanden is clearly very right foot dominant. So I don't know. It didn't work like I had hoped, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, and that's what it was. I didn't think that there was a clear difference between Van de Sanden and Berenstain from the start. I do think, and we'll get into it as we go later on, when Van de Sanden comes on, I don't know how much of an impact she made versus the impact that Berenstain had made in the previous games. And, we'll talk about all that as we go along here. Game kicks off, and kind of the first thing that I noted was a chance by Sweden in the 13th minute, and the match was a little bit more back and forth, and Sweden, I would say, controlled pretty much the majority of the first half, which was a little bit surprising to me. And I don't know if it really should be surprising, because the Netherlands has been a slow starting nation in every match so far in this World Cup. Any thoughts on that, Matt?
I expected Sweden to be really confident and come out and to play with that level of confidence, but so I guess I wasn't super surprised. I was surprised by how porous the Netherlands defense looked. Frankly, I expected it to be better. And first time they faced good teams before, but Sweden's got kind of a really interesting sauce, in terms of how they put everything together going forward. It doesn't look they seem very unlikely to me, but it works.
Absolutely. So Sweden was offending in a 4-4-2 shape with Aslani and Blackstenius more or less being the two up front. And then Netherlands was defending in more of a 4-4-1-1 or 4-2-3-1 kind of shape. So that was kind of how the teams were lining up and going against each other. Netherlands was attacking in a 4-3-3, their traditional shape. And then Sweden was attacking in, it kind of looked like a 4-3-3 as well. So it looked like they were kind of matching each other for the most part, with the exception of slight variation on the defending side of things. Sweden, yet again, they were loading the 6-yard box on corner kicks, and we've seen this from every game from them. And Matt, can you recall this actually working in any? I actually don't remember them scoring on any corners. Do you remember them scoring on any corners from this strategy?
I thought they did.
Okay.
Like once.
Okay. I'm just not a fan of this. And as the game wore on, they went away from it, especially late on in the match, and they started to pull some players out kind of more towards the penalty spot, which I'm more of a fan of. Get a running start and try to get ahead on the ball, and
Sure.
instead of coming the opposite way. Sweden, I thought that they were targeting most of their attacks down the right side of the pitch, especially in the first half with Jakobsen, and she was having some success against the Netherlands defense. Sweden was organized defensively, and the Netherlands was really struggling to break them down. I thought that they were very static. Again, most of this in the first half, but even into the second half. I noted in the 30th minute, center back had the ball for the Netherlands, and Netherlands had 5 players basically standing up front along the Swedish defensive line. Mm-hmm. And then they had another 2 players in midfield, and every single person was standing there. And the center back was under pressure, and nobody was tracking to the ball. And that was happening way too much from the Netherlands, and that's just not going to fly against the U.S. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I noticed oftentimes going forward that the Netherlands were actually like in a 2-3-5 shape. And so they had 5 players up front, and they were not doing anything. They had no off the ball movement. They'll get crushed.
Yeah. And it was odd. And it's something that I don't necessarily expect to see from a Dutch side that, again, generally speaking, shares the ball well. And their goal actually comes from some creative movement. And we'll get to it, obviously, when we talk about extra time. But there wasn't enough of that throughout the game, in my opinion. I don't know if I'm discrediting what Sweden was doing or if I'm, being too harsh on the Netherlands, but it simply wasn't good enough from an attacking standpoint for me from the Netherlands. Next thing, and one of the last things I noted from the first half, 37th minute, Sweden has a corner, and the ball ends up getting deflected around to the penalty spot. There's a shot fired, and the ball bounces then through to the edge of the 6-yard box. And I believe Hertig gets her toe on the ball, pokes it towards net, and there's just an excellent kick save by Van Veenendaal, who had a superb game here.
Very
Thoughts
good,
on this play?
That was just a great save.
All right.
That's all I have to say.
All right. It was a great save.
Yeah, it was.
So, like I said, Sweden, I thought, controlled the majority of the first half, even if the possession numbers didn't favor them, which I think they might have anyways. I just thought Sweden looked in control, even defensively. They weren't conceding too many opportunities, and Netherlands was just playing way too slow. Any other thoughts from the first half, Matt?
No. Whoops.
Second half, we had Roord come on and Martens come off at halftime, and Roord ended up going to center midfield, and Van de Donk ended up going to left wing. I don't know if this was right away, but it was definitely early in the second half, and it was just an interesting decision. I know they were speculating about Martens being injured. She wasn't very effective in the first half, so whether it was injury or not, I don't think she had the greatest game, and I was okay with this sub. Matt, thoughts on it?
Well, I mean, there was a lot of coverage. Oh my gosh, there was a lot of coverage before the match about how she was having issues with her toe.
Yeah. Can you hear that banging?
I did hear one. Yeah, that was only when you looked to the right. When I was quiet, I was like, oh yeah, there it is.
Okay, so our windows are really funky in our apartment, and so you have to really make sure that they get open. So somebody upstairs is trying to open their window. Sorry, gotcha. Getting back to
that's
what
hilarious.
we're talking about.
That's really funny. I totally forgot what we were talking about now.
All right, we were talking about the Martin sub.
Oh yeah, the Martin sub. It made sense just because if she said that she's been playing every day with pain. But when she gets out on the pitch, that she just doesn't notice it. And maybe it's getting worse. And you're right. She did not look good today at all.
Yeah.
She
So
was missing passes, missing dribbles, and
yeah, I mean, there were a lot of Dutch players kind of doing that as well. And so again, a part of that is definitely due to Sweden and their commitment as well. Also, from the first half, Sweden committed 13 fouls to Netherlands only one. I know we were talking a little bit before we went live here, and I don't know if it was just something that I wasn't noticing, or maybe they weren't quite as egregious as they were in previous ones, but it didn't feel that one-sided. But I think it did for you. And so, what do you thought? What are your thoughts on just Sweden's physical play and that kind of foul split?
so I didn't realize it was that pronounced. I didn't, because that's a pretty stark difference, 13-1. That's kind of. I did notice that Sweden was fouling more. Yeah, I just didn't think that it was that many. I hadn't noticed that the whistle was going off that much. I thought maybe they were going to have like 7 or 8 fouls, but 13 was surprising, especially with no warnings. That was another shocking thing. It's like Sweden just had, license to foul as much as they wanted without having any repercussions.
Absolutely, and I think you noted that Netherlands ended up with more yellow cards in this game than Sweden did, which is pretty wild. So next thing I noted, 56th minute, most of these highlights from the second half are going to be goalkeeper subs. So 56th minute, there's an excellent save by Van Veenendaal here. This is on a corner kick from Sweden, and the ball sort of ricochets all around, and eventually it squirts free to Nila Fischer, the center back for Sweden, who's up because it's a corner kick, and she hits a fantastic low shot, and Van Veenendaal gets fingertips to it and deflects it off the post. I know the broadcast didn't really call her out for making the save, but seeing replays, she definitely gets a fingertip to it, and
Totally.
the ball path adjusts, and this is just a superb save here. Any thoughts on that?
Oh, it was nice. At first, I just thought that Fisher missed the target, but she was on. That ball was going in, and if Van Veenendaal didn't get that touch save, then they were down 1-0.
Yeah, there was excellent goalkeeping in this match. Netherlands, when they had the 5 forwards up front, they had a little bit of width, but when they were just in the regular 3 forward shape, they just didn't really have any width, and it was just way too tight and compact. And again, this stuff is not going to fly against the United States. 64th minute, Netherlands has a corner themselves, and there's a collision between Aslani and Eriksson, and Miedema has a free header wide open on the back post, and she loops it kind of back across goal towards the middle, kind of getting to the far post, and Lindahl just full extension save, deflects it off the crossbar, and eventually it comes to nothing, but excellent save by Lindahl here. Any thoughts on this, Matt?
No, to me, that's the best save of the day, that one. But yeah, the goalkeepers were fantastic today.
Absolutely. 66th or 67th minute. This was somewhat controversial and it kind of glossed over it, but there's a tackle by Van Lunteren, the outside back for the Netherlands, on Hurtig, the left winger for Sweden. Mm-hmm. And Van Lunteren doesn't make contact on the ball, and she comes through Hurtig. Hurtig doesn't complain whatsoever, and the game just kind of goes on. Goes out for a throw-in, and the ball gets quickly back into play. But were you surprised at all that this didn't go to VAR, or are you okay with this being the way that it was, Matt?
I mean, ultimately I was fine with it, mainly because I wanted the game to end and VAR was just going to extend the game, which is probably not the best way to watch the game. But it seemed like the refereeing was consistent in that she was letting a lot of stuff go, even though there were a lot of fouls called. So I don't know. I don't have a lot to say. So
on the balance of play in this match, I think she was consistent. Based on the way that it's been refereed throughout the rest of the World Cup, I was surprised that this didn't go to VAR because, again, I don't think the player got a foot on the ball, and she clearly comes through Hurtig and knocks her down. I was just pulling up the final foul numbers, and Sweden ended up with 24 fouls to 13 from the Netherlands. So Netherlands started to foul back a little bit in the second half.
But 37 fouls is a lot.
That is a lot, yeah. 71st minute, Berenstein comes off, Van de Sanden comes on, and again, Van de Sanden had a couple of moments, but it seems like she gets somewhere and then just runs out of ideas or just makes kind of a mistake that you wouldn't expect someone who plays for Olympique Lyon to make. And I don't know if I just have unrealistic expectations or too high expectations for her, but I haven't been overly impressed with her in this tournament. Having said that, she has a fantastic shot in the 92nd, which I'll talk about in a minute. But beyond that, I didn't think she was incredibly influential. Matt, what did you think about her performance?
So a lot of it, she was just arriving on the scene before the rest of her team could. Now she was getting past and behind the Swedish defense, but based on looking at her on the ball, I don't think she's good enough on the ball to really handle those situations. She's really, really fast. She's intelligent in her positioning on the wing, but she always kind of drifts out farther to the right and then tries to put most things on her right foot. There was a couple times where she should have let the ball go across her body and take a first touch with her left foot, but she didn't. She took, she kind of Jordan Morris the ball and took the first touch with the outside of her right foot, and that put her into compromising positions. So I think it really comes down to lack of technical ability to make things happen in those situations.
Yeah, which again is surprising for me from coming from someone who plays for probably the best club side in the world, or definitely one of them. Starting around the 60th minute, the Netherlands really started to take more control of the match. Sweden, again, I thought was the stronger, more controlling side in the first half, but Netherlands started to kind of get their act together in the second half, and it took them a while to get going. And again, I think that's going to have impacts when they face the United States, because that's been a trend of them throughout this World Cup. Last thing I noted from the second half was that 92nd minute Van de Sanden shot. Lindahl gets, so she's got the ball kind of towards the corner of the 18-yard box on the far side of the pitch, and she fires it in, good hard shot, going upper 90, and Lindahl is incredibly casual here. I don't know if she just was very confident, but she only barely gets a finger to this, and it goes over the crossbar by only a few inches. Again, this was just very casual all around by Lindahl for a shot that, 92nd minute 0-0 game. Like, it was just, I don't know. I expected something a little bit more theatrical and or to be a little bit more clinical on the shot save. Any thoughts on that, Matt?
No, you pretty much summed it up.
All right. The last thing I noted was, so Van de Sanden shoots this. It's going to the far post. Lindahl tips it out, and Netherlands ends up taking the corner from the opposite side of the pitch. I've played soccer my entire life, and I always thought the rule, I've never actually officially looked this up, but I always thought you had to take the corner on the side of the pitch where the ball went out. And so if it goes off on the far post, you have to take it off on that side of the field. Netherlands actually takes this corner on the opposite side of the pitch, I think because it favors Spitze and the way she delivers the ball. Again, I thought that was odd, and it ultimately didn't amount to anything, but that was just something I wanted to highlight here. Any other thoughts from regulation before we talk about extra time?
No, sir.
Extra time starts, and Aslani, that's when I noted she committed 8 fouls as of the 98th minute, and she never received the yellow card in this match. We wish her well. That was kind of a really freak injury.
Oh my gosh,
that happens. It probably something with her neck, because it tweaked probably really quickly and she wasn't expecting it. But I just thought it was odd that she had committed 8 fouls with no yellow card just for persistent infringement. Generally speaking, once you get around 5 fouls, the referee will give you a card. So again,
she didn't even get a warning that I saw. Did she
got
get
a warning on the 8th call? Yeah, on the 8th one is when she got a warning.
Oh, finally. Okay, all right.
Because that's when the referee, I had noted, or I just mentally noted earlier in the match, like, that's got to be her 5th or 6th foul. And then finally in this extra time, I saw the referee finally talking to her. I'm like, I got to look up how many fouls Aslani has committed. And at that time it was 8. So that was that. And then the only thing I really noted from extra time was the 99th minute goal. And so this is just a fantastic finish by Groningen. And it starts with the ball in the back for the Netherlands. I think it's Bloodworth. Matt, do you know who plays the ball into Van de Donk? Did you happen to note that?
I think it was Bloodworth.
I think it was Bloodworth, and she plays it into Van de Donk. And Bloodworth isn't really under very much pressure, and Van de Donk isn't really under much pressure either, which is kind of surprising from Sweden in the way that they had played the whole match. But Van de Donk is able to turn very quickly, so she gets it kind of on the half turn and is able to play it very quickly into Miedema's feet. And Miedema has a defender on her back, and the defender actually comes through and toe pokes the ball away from her. Now, Groningen had already started making a fantastic run, and this is where Miedema would have played the ball anyways, and so it's somewhat fortunate, but it's also, you kind of create your own luck when you make these runs. And so Groningen was making the run that I had wanted Netherlands to be making throughout the game. Finally, they do it, and they get an opportunity. There's space created because Miedema is occupying a center back, and Groningen just drives into that, takes a touch, and then just fires an absolute bullet low and hard to the far post. It's 1-0 to the Netherlands. Matt, any other thoughts to add on the goal?
I was happy to see a goal. That's I texted you about halftime. I was having difficulty staying awake during the match. So I was just really happy it didn't go to penalties. I felt like it was one of those matches that, although it could go to penalties, it sort of didn't do the game justice, just because I don't know. I have no reason for why I feel that way, because oftentimes in defensive battles, I'm like, oh yeah, this needs to go to penalties. And this one, I just was like, no. Whoever wins is going to face the United States, and they need to get off the pitch, even though standing there doing penalties. It's just a mental toll. Anyway, So that's my take there. So.
Yeah, and that's fair enough. And there wasn't a ton of opportunities, but when the opportunities were created, again, the goalkeepers really stepped up on both sides of the pitch. And so it was a 1-0 game. I think that there were long periods where the game wasn't interesting, but it definitely did have its moment of flashes where there was excitement. So it wasn't like a 0-0 where nothing really happened. So there was at least that. Last thing that I noted from the game was just that freak injury to Aslani right at the end. It sort of took all kind of momentum, the game just sort of like kind of ground out. And it was kind of an unfortunate way to end a World Cup for someone who has been fantastic. And I really wish her well, because I was impressed with her this World Cup, and any sort of injuries to the neck area is not good. She was wearing, I saw something on her arm. She's had that. It looked like she took a beating this World Cup. So hopefully she can heal up quickly. Final thoughts from this game, Matt?
No.
All right. So, okay. Jeff actually has a comment. A corner kick is the method of restarting play in a game of association football. When the ball goes out of play, the kick is taken from the corner of the field to play nearest to where it went out. Okay. So that's why I thought that was the case. And so this just wasn't enforced on that corner from earlier that we referenced. So Jeff, thank you very much for chiming in. And this is why I love recording live on YouTube. So excellent stuff. I really appreciate that. Matt, what was your save of the day? I think you alluded to it a few minutes ago.
Actually, I changed my mind. The 92nd minute Lindahl save, even though she was totally casual and not prepared, the actual save was outstanding. It was very theatrical. So yeah, that's my save of the day.
That's your save of the day. All right. I'll take the tip off the post. So this was in the 56th minute. Neela Fisher with that low driven ball. Van Veenendaal does really well to get down quickly, get a fingernail to it, just ever so slight touch, but it gets it onto the post and keeps it out of the net. This was just such a fantastic save. So that's my save of the day. Matt, what was your goal of the day?
I'm not even going to.
Yeah, I think we can both agree it was the only goal. It was a really good goal, and it wasn't necessarily just because of the fortunate deflection. I mean, everything that had led up to that fortunate deflection, and especially Groningen already making that run, and the ball basically was going to be played there anyways. I'm not going to discount what Netherlands did in the build up to that, and so it was a great goal. Matt, what was your moment of the day?
Probably the goal. There's another thing. I'm gonna call it a different moment, because this could have serious implications going forward if this kind of play continues. So Van de Sanden, late in the game, there's like 3 or 4 minutes left. Sweden gets an amazing counter opportunity, because Van de Sanden, rather than just simply dribbling to the corner and trying to waste time, she like cuts in from the left side and then tries to cross the ball into the box. Well, there's nobody there, because everybody's kind of hanging back. And then Sweden has all the room in the world because they get the ball in the center of the pitch. So they're not even forced to use the sideline, to be on the sideline, which can be an extra defender in any case. No, Van de Sanden just gives the ball away deep in the game. And she had space to run into the corner, and she just thoughtlessly it's like, oh, we have to score. No, you got to run the game out. So I actually think that that's a moment of the day, because that could show some real lack of thought, honestly, during in game.
She had another moment late in the match where she ended up coming in and taking a shot with the outside part of her foot, and she ended up miscuing it completely. But she did have some opportunities where she went to the corner, and then she had some decisions like you're saying. And again, it's confusing, especially for someone who plays for Olympique Lyon. So I'm in agreement with you. My moment of the day is going to be her actually coming onto the pitch. She got a rousing ovation, and it was really cool to see, because that is her home stadium. That's where the match took place. And so it was really cool for the crowd to recognize her. So that was my moment of the day. Getting to this weekend's matches, and we're still deciding on if we're going to do a review of the third place game. So chime in with your thoughts. If you're watching live on YouTube, let us know, or hit us up on Twitter at BT Soccer Pod. Let us know if you're interested in us reviewing the third place game. And then in addition to that, Matt and I talked about doing kind of more of a built out preview of the final along with that. And so we're still going to do just a quick preview here, but let us know if you have any interest in that, or if you just want us to do kind of our recap review after the final on Sunday. So again, at BT Soccer Pod, or leave a comment here on YouTube, and we'd be happy to do whatever people want us to do. So this weekend, and let's just quickly go over the Saturday match. So we have England taking on Sweden at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in the third place game. Matt, what do you expect to happen? What do you think of third place games? Just, what are your thoughts?
So I don't actually have a problem with third place games. I think it's actually a way to recognize teams that did well, but they just couldn't quite get their get the ball over the final line or something. I don't know. I was kind of making like an American football reference, but anyway, um, so I enjoy them. It's a way to watch generally higher quality soccer again late in a tournament. Now maybe I could see the other argument where people like, oh, the game doesn't matter, it doesn't do anything, but it does. I mean, it places a team in third, it places a team in fourth, and then everybody's below that. So I like them.
All right, interesting. I'm not really a fan. I
Sure.
mean, and everybody came here with the intention of trying to win the World Cup, right? That is, how realistic or unrealistic those expectations are. That was the goal of this. And once you're eliminated, the third place game always feels just odd, and it's always interesting to watch how teams approach it. If they rotate their squad and they give players opportunities that maybe haven't had chances, or if players are banged up and they rest them, or if they take it super seriously and they want to get that third place, especially for England, who I believe came in third place at the last World Cup, right, Matt?
Yes, they did.
Yeah, so they've already got a third place finish. I don't know how much benefit they're going to see from finishing third again. Any English fans, let us know your thoughts. Jeff, I know you're here on YouTube. So, I mean, what do you think? Would it be better for England to finish third and, crush Sweden, or do you not really care about this? I'd love to hear your thoughts, but my perspective is that I don't see a ton of value in third place games. Now, having said that, England is the stronger side on the whole. Sweden is coming off of playing 120 minutes. They're pretty banged up at this point, and I would expect England to win if they roll out a relatively strong lineup. And I don't know, England's depth has been tested throughout this tournament, so even if they don't have the strongest lineup, I would still give them a slight edge here. But again, it's such a crapshoot with the third place game. So any other thoughts from the third place game, Matt?
No.
All right, and then we have the big one, USA taking on the Netherlands on Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And Matt, what are you expecting to happen in that one?
4-1 the United States.
Expect them to come out strong?
Yep. I expect the Netherlands to do their best, but I expect them to not know what hit them. And it's not because United States homer. Like, I actually thought the United States would not make the final match. I didn't think that I thought England was going to end up being better, and I thought France was going to end up being better. Now, the United States played probably the most exciting game of the tournament versus England. And then I thought the game versus France was outstanding as well. The United States just keeps getting better as the tournament goes on. They don't play with people are going to probably crucify me for saying this. I don't think the United States plays with an improper amount of arrogance or confidence. Like, I thought Germany, when I said, stupid and arrogant, I thought Germany came out like only living on arrogance. And like, they were way overconfident. They just took Sweden for granted. And the United States never takes an opponent for granted, especially in a final like that. And if they have, they don't anymore. This team, I think, has the most belief from any United States team I've ever seen.
I'm in agreement. I would expect a multi-goal victory here as well. So it's a combination of a couple different factors. So again, Netherlands, every game that I can remember watching them play this tournament, they've started as kind of the weaker side. And the U.S. is the exact opposite. They come out strong. They've gotten a goal in the first 12 minutes of every single match that they've played so far. The Netherlands looks like they don't wake up until the second half. The U.S. might be up 2 or 3 goals at that point if that pattern continues. Additionally, the U.S. has a day more rest, excuse me. They didn't go to extra time. They're going to be fresher. Even if Lavelle and Rapinoe can't go, they have built-in options in Press and Mewis who can fill in. Yes, they're not exact like for like subs, but they've already played together and they've already demonstrated that they can get results. I heavily favor the U.S. in this. Netherlands is not simply going to roll over, and they're not going to be a pushover, but I haven't been impressed with them. I haven't seen a match from them where they've put it together throughout the course of a game. And in a World Cup final, you need to be able to put together a full game. And the Netherlands seems to have pockets of play, but there's so many things that I haven't liked about watching them play. They've gotten very static in certain instances, and the U.S. has kind of developed this style of once they take a lead, they'll sit back and try to counter, and they'll make you try to break them down. And Netherlands, in their last few matches especially, they haven't proven to me that they can actually do that. And so that's kind of where I stand on all of that. Anything else you want to add, Matt?
The only thing is if we do a pod on, or a show on Saturday. I think my daughter is going to help out with that one. And
Awesome.
definitely with the final, she already agreed to help out with that one. And just for anybody watching live or listening, she's going to play Division I soccer. Soccer is pretty much her life. She is tactically far more astute than I am. And she's a center back, so she loves analyzing the game. So actually, some of the stuff that I say tactically is stuff that she's told me thus far. So she just has been making me look good, and then now she can make herself look good.
Awesome. So yeah, we're looking forward to having her on. So it should be a lot of fun with that. Matt, who's a player you're going to be looking out for in that Netherlands USA match?
Kristen Press. I'm curious to see if she's going to play. If she does, I hope she has a great game.
All right. I'm going to be looking out for Alex Morgan. I thought that she's had kind of up and down performances, but has been growing, especially in the last few matches. And I would expect that to continue. She's come under a lot of criticism, specifically her and Rapinoe, and she's sort of lived up to that. And, I love that aspect. Yeah, the teacup celebration. But I love that she welcomes that and she doesn't back down from the pressure and the challenges. And I would expect her to have a big game in this World Cup final. So that's a player I'm going to be looking out for. Matt, anything else you would like to add here today?
Nope.
All right. Not a fan of third place games. So Jeff is not a fan of third place games, and he's watched England lose 3 of those over the years. Hasn't phased him. So thank you, Jeff, for wishing us a happy 4th. And thank you for reminding me. Yes, I hope everybody has a happy 4th of July. It is Independence Day for us in the U.S. tomorrow. So I hope everybody has a wonderful 4th of July. We thank you so much for being here and listening to us. Everyone that has joined us live on YouTube, Sal and Jeff, thank you for leaving comments. And looks like Sal is a fan of us doing a review on Saturday. So look out for that. And yeah, if you want to get in contact with us, our Twitter's at BT Soccer Pod. Matt, what's your Twitter handle?
At Northwood Guitar.
All right. If you want to email us, our email is bros.talking.soccer@gmail.com. If you liked what you heard here, please consider leaving us a review on iTunes. 5-star reviews help us out, and that would be amazing. We would greatly appreciate it. Check out our website, brostalkingsoccer.com. You can read about myself, my brothers, check out past episodes, and all of that is available on brostalkingsoccer.com. Thank you again for being here and listening to us. Matt, thank you for being here and talking with me.
Thanks for having me, Dave.
All right, we'll be back on Saturday, July 6th. Yes, Saturday, July 6th with another podcast. Have a great rest of your week. Go enjoy the 4th of July holiday. Go enjoy some burgers and dogs, and we will talk to you soon. See you, everybody. All right, cool. And Jeff and Sal, thank you guys for being here. And yeah, we really appreciate you guys being here and interacting with us. So thank you so much. And I love when you chime in and add either your thoughts or especially, the rule stuff, Jeff, correcting me or helping us out. So thank you. We really appreciate it, guys. And we'll talk to you on Saturday. See ya.